Yes, so we'll have more details. Hopefully, Nick Anderson, when you guys drive up there, won't... it'll be a great experience.
You're going to drive for Nick Anderson for quite a while. Is that part of the intern?
That's a part of the learning experience. That is the 2018 summer internship program.
That is a learning experience. It will certainly be a learning experience.
So we'll look forward to those details. Plus, you have a ton of numbers to pass along here in this program.
Well, yeah. How did the crops fare after all of that heat and humidity and high dew points? We'll hear from Ron Moore, who could use the rain in Warren County, and Kent Casson, who last week had 5 inches. So how do things look where he is, too?
And we can't go a day on this program without talking about trade. So Matt Kay is along, and we'll also talk to Kevin Kester, who is the president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. We talked to him last week in Galena at the Beef Association Summer Conference. Markets and weather also to come. Stay with us.
With this week's edition of Farm Week, the early word, here's DeLaw Schonke.
Senate Ag Committee members overwhelmingly approved their version of the 2018 Farm Bill. The bill now heads to the full Senate floor. Turn to this week's edition of Farm Week to find details of what the bill contains. As June Dairy Month proceeds, dairy farmers will likely face higher returns due to strong demand and stable feed prices. Check out Farm Week for more information about the outlook for the dairy industry. Farm Week, the #1 ag publication in Illinois, arriving soon in your mailbox.
No other farm weekly in Illinois has as many people on the ground in Illinois covering Illinois agriculture for you with the depth on key issues to help keep you profitable. And don't forget, you can get daily or even more frequent updates online anytime at farmweeknow.com.
Welcome back to RFD Illinois. I'm DeLaw Schonke. On a Tuesday, on Monday afternoon, Illinois came out with its crop progress and condition ratings through ag statistics. Once again, temperatures were more than average, 4.5 degrees more, 76.6 degrees. And rainfall was more than average, 1.4 inches. That was 0.4 of an inch more than average. Now, it just depends on where you go. East, southeast Illinois, 4.07 inches last week. Meanwhile, 4 of the 9 areas came in at less than an inch. Southeast at an inch 14, east at an inch 6, central at an inch 4, and west-southwest at an inch 0.2. So quite the variability in rainfall, as has been the case the last several weeks. Ron Moore is our Farm Week crop watcher in Warren County and says they've only had a couple of tens here and there so far in June. Could use rainfall for crops and for pastures with a couple hundred head of cattle in the area. No big cracks in the fields yet, but could certainly use rainfall.
And all told, it's only about an inch in the last 2 weeks. But, 0.2 of an inch of rain is gone the next day when it's 95 degrees and hot, dry winds.
Yeah, so you hear about guys to the north of you getting 4 and 6 and 7 and think, gosh, why can't we just split that up a little bit?
Yes, I know. We came home from Chicago this week, and on Route 88 there were lots and lots of fields with water standing in it. So we feel for those folks that did a good job of getting their crop planted on time, and then Mother Nature kind of whittles away at their yield potential. We've been making hay in between the rains, and we've got all our hay put up for now.
So you put hay down, you still didn't get a rain, huh?
Yeah, well, we did do that. We mowed hay and then got 1/10 of an inch, and then raked it and got another 1/10 of an inch. So I was doing everything I could to make it rain, but we just haven't done it. The yards are still brown. They look like August right now.
Ron Moore in Warren County. You can find his and the other crop watcher reports in each week's edition of Farm Week. Wheat harvest as of Sunday was 30% complete. Last year this time it was at 59%. The 5-year average is 19. Corn crop is rated 29% excellent, 52% good, 15% fair, and 4% either poor or very poor. Not much change compared to last week's report. Soybean condition is 23% excellent, 54% good, 19% fair, and 4% either poor or very poor. 57% of sorghum condition is good to excellent. 64% of pasture condition is rated either good or excellent. Topsoil moisture is 12% surplus, 68% adequate. 20% is either short or very short. Subsoil is 12% surplus, 65% adequate. 23% is rated either short or very short. Kent Cassett is a farmer and farm broadcaster in McLean and Livingston County.
Some replanting may be in the future after those heavy rains over a week ago. There are signs of stress on soybeans in those fields where water couldn't get away. And things have dried out quite a bit since those rains over a week ago. And now there's more in the forecast this week. Fellow farmer John Wilkins' crops look much better after a 3-inch rain fell during the recent June weekend.
Generally, things came up really well. We had great emergence, and I think if we can get some consistent rains for the rest of the summer, this drought we had here in May and early June probably won't phase things a bit. But, of course, we have a long way to go, so we'll see. But it looks promising so far.
Wilkin farms around 650 acres in the Chatsworth and Cullum areas. And Chatsworth farmer Tim McGrail has seen varied amounts of rainfall.
We had a little bit of dry area through here. Of course, these beans were planted in good moisture that early. Pretty dry up until last weekend. We had about 3.5 inches right here over the weekend. We weren't quite so fortunate to the south end of our operation. We've seen some 5 to 7 inch rain totals, some pretty good crop damage out south of Chatsworth. We had a wonderful planting season. We planted both crops in 8 days, which I don't think we've ever done that before.
Thanks to local farmers John Wilkin and Tim McGrail for talking with me this week. Reporting from southeastern Livingston County for the RFD Radio Network, I'm Kent Cassett.
Thanks, Kent. A couple of national numbers. Corn condition is rated 78% good to excellent, one tick more than last week. Soybean condition nationwide is rated 73% good to excellent. And the WOTUS repeal and replace process continues. We'll talk about it in the days ahead. Meanwhile, Venus Troyes has a feature at farmweeknow.com. Rita Frazier's up next on RFD, Illinois.
Here in Illinois, it's everywhere, and it's used in so many things. We're talking about Illinois homegrown corn. It's fuel for your vehicle on the way to the game. It's a delicious corn-fed bacon cheeseburger that's the talk of the tailgate. Corn is even used to make things like plastic water bottles and lipstick. We're proud that Illinois runs on homegrown corn, and you should be too. Learn more about how corn shows up in unexpected places at watchusgrow.org/corn. A message from Illinois corn farmers and their checkoff.
All ag.
All Illinois.
All now.
There are a lot of smartphone apps out there, but do they have what's important to us here in Illinois? The Farm Week Now app does, and it's always at your fingertips. All ag, all Illinois, and 24/7 where and when you need it for free. Go to your app or Play Store on your smartphone, hit search, type in Farm Week Now, that's one word, and download it today. Brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau, where we're all about farm, family, and food.
At Country Financial, we want you to have control over your future. How can we help you make that happen? Our crop-certified country reps will take the time to understand your goals, help you identify the risks that could keep you from reaching them, and help you decide how you want to handle those risks. We also commit to providing excellent service. With our 100-plus certified crop adjusters, our fleet of country drones, and our 24/7 customer service, we strive to provide that on a daily basis. We also have the technology to help you manage your farm on the go. Our free Country Crop mobile app lets you view policy documents, file and track a claim, and more, all from your phone. Download the app today to take advantage of its benefits. Mark your calendars. Be sure to submit your spring federal crop acreage report before the July 15th deadline. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. This entity is an equal opportunity provider.
We're back here on RFD Illinois. I'm Rita Frazier. USDA Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue had little to say when asked questions about the trade conflict with China. Matt Kay has the story.
Perdue, a former veterinarian, came to Farmstead's Puppy Paradise for ideas to improve kennels nationwide, some long seen as puppy mills. And after weeks of answering questions on the damage from the president's trade wars with China and others, Perdue needed to find a paradise, though it looked like fun at first until the trade issue came up.
Mr. Secretary, I think they know who you are.
They act like it, don't they?
All right, thanks, guys.
We had a quick comment on trade, sir.
We don't have time, sorry.
We don't have time, sorry. The response from a press aide, as Secretary Perdue, surrounded by his communications team and security detail, scurried to the door and their waiting Chevy Suburban. Perdue's failure to take press questions after an hour and a half at the kennel stood in stark contrast to major farm groups' concerns. Chinese tariffs on U.S. soybeans, beef, pork, and other goods will do lasting damage in that huge market. Farmers for Free Trade Executive Director Brian Keel.
If China is the issue, and intellectual property theft is a very real issue, let's address that. Let's do it in a coalition setting where we bring all the trading partners together who trade with China, get everyone singing off the same sheet of music, and apply maximum pressure on China. And then rather than building a coalition, we've started whacking all of our allies. So we're whacking Canada, we're whacking Mexico, we're whacking the EU.
The very countries Keel says the U.S. needs to put pressure on China. And those countries have now placed tariffs of their own on U.S. farm goods, while adding new uncertainty to the fate of trade talks like NAFTA. For the RFD Radio Network, Matt Kay, Washington.
Thanks, Matt. Well, trade definitely on the minds of cattlemen as they attended the Illinois Beef Association summer conference in Galena last week. They're representing the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, Kevin Kester. He's a producer from California. He talked about the issues facing farmers this year.
Chinese potential tariff trade war with them. We have EU issues, and then, of course, TPP, and it relates to Japan, all on our plates for trade as well as others. And then we have the Farm Bill and the process going through with that. So as of today, though, things are looking a lot better with our prospects of getting a Farm Bill done on time this year. So that's important. Then we have, as I go across the country, producer concerns about electronic logging devices. That seems to be universal from coast to coast concern. So we're working on that. And then fake meat and how that's going to maybe affect the cattle and beef industry in the future. And that's on producers' minds across the country also.
You mentioned, too, this morning, even though there are challenges with major trading partners, there's a lot of opportunity in other countries around the world for U.S. beef.
There are. So our trade so far this year for the first 4 months is up 20% totally in value from a year ago, year over year, the first 4 months. So Hong Kong, it's up 45%. We have Mexico up 16%. Japan, our biggest market, it's up 10%, even over the record values from last year. And then South Korea has been really outstanding. We're up 45% year over year. So those are success stories, and then we're developing trade in other parts of the world like you mentioned, and so that is a really big success story, and we just need to keep it up and not disrupt it.
Kevin Kester, President, National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Read more about Kevin's comments and NCBA priorities in this week's edition of Farm Week. You can also see a story on farmweeknow.com. Well, we know that local radio connects communities, and we know that farm and sports are a part of every local community throughout Illinois. Tim Mize is a part of the staff of WSMI Radio in Litchfield. They are working on a basketball shootout in December that will benefit a mutual friend and a friend of many in Illinois, Terry Todt.
Absolutely. Terry Todt is an amazing man, and he's done so much for the WSMI listening area over his 40-plus years at the radio station. And Terry's always kind of had a dream of having a basketball shootout that the station is involved in. And we finally were able to get that off the ground, and we're going to have a shootout coming up on December the 8th at Carlinville High School. Going to have 8 basketball games starting at 9:30 in the morning, and all the money that we raise there is going to go to Terry for his medical bills. So it should really be a fun day.
How would somebody find out more, or how would they help?
Well, anybody who would be interested in helping that can always just call the WSMI radio station, and we have a bunch of different phone numbers. You can find them online at our website, WSMIradio.com. You can talk to our sales manager, Mike Niehaus. You can call me at the radio station as well. But, yeah, anybody who would like to help in any way will certainly be welcome.
The shootout. Now, who will be participating?
5 boys games and 3 girls games. We're going to have Litchfield is going to be involved, of course, in Carlinville and Hillsborough. Nokomis is going to be there. Staunton's going to be there. The Auburn boys and girls teams are both going to be involved, and the Metro East Lutheran boys are going to be involved, along with Gillespie.
Thanks, Tim. Tim Mize, WSMI Radio Litchfield. As Tim mentioned, if you would like to find out more about that benefit coming up in December, contact WSMI or Tim Mize directly. We'll have more details as we get a little closer to that event. Let's break for markets and weather.
With the RFD Ag Market Summary for this Tuesday morning, I'm Jim Taylor. Corn lower, beans higher, wheat ending Monday lower. July corn closing at $3.56 down 5 1/4. September corn down 5 1/4. $3.65 1/2. December corn $3.77 1/4 down 5 1/2. July beans closing at $9.08 1/2 up 3. August beans up 2 1/2 9.14. September beans up 1 3/4 9.20. July wheat closing at $4.90 down 9 1/2. September wheat down 12 5.01 1/2, and December wheat down 13 5.21 1/4. July bean meal $3.30 5.50 down 3.40. July bean oil up 7 cents 29.57. In current electronic overnight trading, July corn down 6 3/4. September corn down 7 1/4. December corn down 7 1/2 at 369 3/4. July beans in the overnight down 23. August beans down 23. September beans down 23. 8.97. July wheat in the overnight down 8 1/2. September wheat down 9 1/4. December wheat down 8 1/4. 5.13. In the outside markets, August Brent crude oil 75.34 up 1.90. The August gold contract 12.8150 up 1.40. In the livestock market, July lean hogs 83.72 up $2. August lean hogs up 1.17 79.42. June live cattle 108.30 down 15 cents. August live cattle up 40 cents 105.17. August feeder cattle 148.97, that's up $1. September feeder cattle up 85 cents 149.12. Illinois direct barrels and gilts trading steady on Monday at 52 to 59. That's the RFD Ag Market Summary for this Tuesday morning. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network.
Good morning, this is Dan Hicks from Freezotis Weather with the early morning ag weather update on the RFD Radio Network for this Tuesday morning. Daytime highs in the upper 80s to mid-90s were common across a large part of the Midwest once again yesterday, with cooler readings in some of the northern areas as a cool front now begins to move very slowly southward into the region. Showers and thunderstorms have moved a bit farther south in the Midwest the past 24 hours, including parts of northern Illinois, where a few far northern locations have picked up over an inch of rain since early on Monday. This boundary will be pushing very slowly southward across the Midwest through the end of the week, and at times will stall across the region. Warm and humid conditions will continue in central and southern Illinois today, and in the southern part of the state into tomorrow, before some cooling gradually starts to work its way farther south into the region later on in the week. Daytime highs will cool down into the 70s and 80s across the northern half of the region the next few days, with 80s and 90s continuing farther south. Then readings will cool in the southern areas later in the week. This system will produce frequent thunderstorms across the central and northern Midwest the next 24 hours, and rain chances will gradually spread over the entire region through mid to late this week as this system pushes slowly southward. There will be the potential for some fairly substantial rainfall across the Midwest from this system, with some 1 to 3 inch amounts likely in many areas by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. Locally heavier amounts are possible from some of the stronger thunderstorms, causing some local areas of flooding across the Midwest. Looking ahead into the 6 to 10 day time frame, it looks like temperatures will average closer to normal across the Midwest, with warmer conditions occurring farther south. Rainfall should average near to below normal in the northern Midwest, near to above normal during the 6 to 10 in the central and south.
Farm, family, food. Those three words best describe Illinois Farm Bureau. Farm. For 100 years, Farm Bureau in Illinois has represented and served the men and women who make Illinois one of the top food-producing states. Family. At the heart of rural Illinois are traditional farm families who work together through Illinois Farm Bureau. And food. Farm Bureau families are proud to grow the healthy food they provide their families and yours. Farm Family Food, the heart of Farm Bureau in Illinois.
Crop protection stewardship, it's in your hands. Illinois farmers have new crop protection tools to fight weeds in soybeans. The products contain dicamba and require careful stewardship. Brian Duncan farms in northern Illinois and was among the 11,000 farmers and others who went through training to use the new technology.
Be smart, be wise, be a good steward. Know your label, know your environmental conditions. It's an important technology that we want to maintain access to.
If you plan to use crop protection products that contain dicamba on resistant soybeans, the University of Illinois recommends you scout treated fields 7 days after application. If control is not complete or another flush of weeds has emerged, consider using other options for weed control.
And we are good stewards of these technologies. And so that message needs to go out as well, not only in word but in action.
Crop protection stewardship, it's in your hands. For more information, visit ilfb.org/steward.
RFD Radio Network's Rita Frazier connects rural routes for you. Rita delivers passion and reliable information to listeners on the RFD Radio Network. Her radio career spans close to 3 decades. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I grew up on a small farm. My job today allows me to connect with people from all walks of life and experience opportunity every day. I get to talk about what I love, farming.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Hey, that's all the time we have for this edition of RFD Illinois.
Hey, we salute a community every day. Jenna, where are you headed today for the open house?
South Beloit in Winnebago County.
Population 7892. Just across state line. They sell cheese curds right there. If you wouldn't mind bringing me back some, keeping them cold, that'd be great.
You can do that?
Oh, yeah.
And if you're in that vicinity today, stop by, learn more about that dairy. For Jim Taylor, I'm Rita Frazier.
I'm DeLoss Yankee.
And I'm Jenna Preston.
Thank you for joining us here on the RFD Radio Network.
Hey, you know, a great way to reach farmers, reach those in agriculture, is through local radio. In fact, Rita, from the National Association of Farm Broadcasting, they have research that shows that farmers listen, 87% say they listen 3+ days a week, 74% say they listen 4+ days per week. We're proud to be able to provide a service for stations all over the state that touch farmers at a very direct level.
Indeed, and local radio is still the best way to stay connected to your local community.
Be sure to listen to this station throughout the week, not just for RFD Illinois, but for also
The Tom Woods Show, episode 1181.
Prepare to set fire to the index card of allowable opinion. Your daily dose of liberty education starts here. The Tom Woods Show.
Folks, this episode is brought to you by Indochino. This week, my listeners can get any premium Indochino suit for just $379 at Indochino.com when entering Woods at checkout. Hi, everybody. Tom Woods here. Larry Correa is back with us again. We had him on episode 1101 to talk about guns and gun violence, and that was excellent because Larry knows an enormous amount about that, and also because he has a personality, and those two factors put together give you one heck of a guest. Well, today we're going to be talking about Larry's own field. Larry, of course, is a New York Times best-selling novelist known for his Monster Hunter and Grim Noir Chronicles series. He has a tremendous and very devoted following, and I want to talk about what's going on in the area of sci-fi and fantasy, where there's been some, what you might call SJW shenanigans going on, where people who aren't in the SJW camp are getting their names dragged through the mud with the usual accusations with which we are grimly familiar from all other areas of life. And in fact, Larry was recently disinvited from a rather important conference for really no good reason. other than ideological fanaticism. So I want to check in with him and see what is going on in this area. Larry, welcome back.
Thanks for having me on.
The gun episode we did last time just couldn't have been better. Everybody loved it. Now I want to talk about something that is even more in your wheelhouse, so to speak, and that is the writing that you do and the genre in which you do it, because it seems as if there is some kind of a cultural battle going on that I wonder if you can give us a bird's eye overview of for the uninitiated.
Sure. Yeah, we've had some recent controversies, but this really started several years ago. For your listeners that don't know me, I'm a novelist, and I'm a New York Times bestselling writer. I write science fiction and fantasy, and I'm also an out of the closet libertarian. And I am a gun nut, and I used to own a gun store. When I first started in this business about 10 years ago, I got nominated for this prestigious award. It's called the Campbell Award, and it's for the best new author. And as soon as I got nominated, there was this great big controversy on the internet about how awful it was that this horrible right-wing hate monger who's probably homophobic and transphobic and racist and sexist, and he owned a gun store and guns killed children.
Well, so in other words, really high-level intellectual stuff, in other words.
Super, super honest and not at all disingenuous. And one of my favorite comments somebody made was, if I win this award, it will end literature forever.
Of course. What other consequence could there be? Sure.
I mean, really, yeah. So what happened was I went. It was called WorldCon, is the big event, and it's part of the Hugo Awards, which are at the time were considered the big prestige award that they claimed represented all of fandom. It represented everybody who liked science fiction and fantasy, and it was a chance for all of us to kind of come together and decide what we thought was the best. So when I went to this event, I mean, I knew I was going to lose before I ever got there, just because the reaction, before anybody had read my books, they just had decided based upon who I was that I, didn't deserve it. But then I went and I saw how the sausage got made, and it was really horrible, because what I came away with is like, it was so incredibly super biased. It was so political. And it was just a bunch of cliques, and there was various, and they were all left wing. Pretty much, you couldn't at the time. It was, Barack Obama. I was like, you wouldn't find anybody there who wasn't a Barack Obama voter, and if they voted for John McCain, by golly, they're keeping their heads down. And it was just interesting to me because it was so political, and no one actually cared about the books. No one cared about the awards, they cared about the awards, but no one cared about the actual books or what the books said or how entertaining they were. It was all about politics. It was all about, did these people have the right politics, and did the book have the right message? And that's what it came down to, is like if they were popular with the certain cliques. So what happened was a couple of years later, my career was doing really good, and I looked at this tiny insular group, and I thought, if I got more, I called them wrong fans, because we like to have wrong fun. If I got more wrong fans involved, we could probably get some people who weren't liberal nominated for awards.
So is this where the Sad Puppies came from?
That's how Sad Puppies was born, and it caused so much outrage. This went on for a few years. We got a ton of people nominated that weren't, they were outsiders. They weren't part of the in crowd. You understand, this industry, when they do, those little surveys of industries to see how they swing politically, other than liberal, is so small that it's a statistical blip. So any chart that has the publishing industry will have like 99% liberal, or socialist, or left wing. That's just how it is. So when I got a bunch of people that were outsiders nominated for these awards, it was the end of the world. The next thing I knew, there was articles showing up in places like Entertainment Weekly, all these national news blogs, places that had never before mentioned the Hugo Awards ever. And they all running on the same script, that this was an assault by racist, sexist hate mongers who were trying to keep publishing white and male because we hated diversity.
Yeah.
It was insane. Well, the funny thing is, too, we picked our nominees, the people that we pushed for awards, based upon whether they had good, fun, entertaining stories as opposed to boring, preachy, political message fic. So it actually turned out that our nominees were way more diverse than the people that you normally want. This is the same crowd that the year before, they had 14 white liberals and 1 Asian liberal win the award, and they hailed it as a huge victory for diversity.
Of course. Of course. You can't make this stuff up, and it's like they're all talking. You're right. It's like a template they all have. And they don't need to fill in many blanks, just your name. They already have the indictment written up. They already know everything they need to know about you, even though they've never read a word you've written, never listened to a word you've said. They already know everything about you.
Yep. And it's a horrible stereotype. My fans have had a lot of fun with this over the years because we call it Straw Larry. So they're not mad at Larry.
Oh,
they're not mad
that's
at me
funny.
and anything I've actually said. Yeah, it's Straw Larry because Straw Larry's a monster. That guy's horrible.
I don't know if he's as bad as Straw Tom. You should hear people can't stand Straw Tom. But Real Tom.
Oh, that guy's worse.
Oh, isn't he? But Real Tom seems to be an okay guy. It's just a funny mix-up, apparently, between the two people. Tell me about Origins. What is Origins and what happened to you?
Well, so that was this year. So for the last couple of years, I really haven't done much. Politically, I've kind of been retired from kicking off people in the publishing world. So I'd kind of, moved past this and forgot about it. I had been invited to be the guest of honor at Origins Gaming Convention in Columbus, Ohio. It's one of the big conventions. I've also done a lot of work in the gaming industry. I have a couple games out based upon books that I've written. And I'm an avid tabletop war gamer. I paint miniatures for fun. So I'm the kind of person that makes perfect sense to have as a guest. I have a lot of fans. It would be a draw. So they invited me out. Sure, that sounds great. I agreed to be a guest. We had no problems for months. I talked about it going back clear to February. I think it was the first time I announced I was going to be the guest of honor there. And then the day that Origins put it on their Facebook page to announce me, some people showed up and pitched this giant fit. It was an internet outrage mob formed up and started screaming. It was all the same old stuff. Baseless allegations with no evidence. No one could ever quote me. And this one lady that started it all was talking about how I had personally attacked and harmed her loved ones. I'll come back to this because it's hilarious. So this all happens. And within about an hour and a half or 2 hours, the guy in charge of Origins, a fellow named John Ward, revoked my invitation and they disinvited me as their guest of honor. And the best part is he posted it on Facebook is where I saw it first. And I got an email at the same time, apparently, but it was just a cut and paste of what he said on Facebook. And it was something to the effect of, when they invited me, they didn't know about my dangerous opinions that made me inappropriate for this family-friendly event.
Oh, my gosh.
So
you can't be around families, Larry. That's dangerous for people.
I know. The funny thing is I've actually got a bunch of kids. I don't know if they realize how dangerous I am, but, I'm pretty boring, actually. No, so I was like, what are my super dangerous opinions I have? I actually wrote an essay about this on my blog. So I went through the timeline and every detail and cited all the emails and everything. So that's all on my blog if anyone's interested. But I asked the guy, what are my dangerous opinions that make me inappropriate for this event? And they never, ever, ever cited anything. And then here's the kicker. This is where it's really fascinating. The person that started all this, the person that threw this big fit, well, first off, she wasn't going to the event anyway. She wasn't even going to be there. She felt unsafe on behalf of others, as social justice warriors tend to do. But here's the best part. The person her family member that I personally attacked and offended, 4 years ago, this guy wrote an article about how a different gaming convention has 50,000 members and how they're all racist and how this con is racist and how he went to this con and felt uncomfortable. And then he went into all of his hangups from when he was a teenager and people were racist to him. Okay. And I went through his article line by line and just pointed out all the logical fallacies. And that wasn't even that mean, really, but he was just basically full of crap. Here's the best part. He's the son of a billionaire. The guy is a billionaire heir. So I have more privilege than the heir of a billionaire. Apparently my Portuguese dairy farmer privilege was so dangerous that I made these people unsafe. And so she held a grudge for 4 years. This was her fiance. So she held a grudge for 4 years and then had to get Origins to kick me out. So good times.
They folded right away. They didn't, as usual, they didn't even contact you and say, hey, is any of this true?
No, they didn't bother. Well, and here's another thing, too, which is really interesting. The gaming industry is a lot like the publishing industry in that it's divided, but everyone thinks it's overwhelmingly liberal because the only people who can openly speak are liberals or left-wingers. So most people just, anybody who's not keeps their head down, keeps their opinion yourself. Because as this was going on, a whole bunch of game companies, it came out, had also been pressuring or employees of certain game companies had also been pressuring Origins about what a horrible right-wing hate monger of hate I am and how I shouldn't be there. So you have a bunch of representatives of other companies in the industry colluding to keep a competitor out because of his political opinions. And they're dumb enough to crow about it on Twitter. So it's just the nature of this industry. And it kind of sends a message to everybody who doesn't toe the line that if you go against the accepted group thing, they're going to destroy you. They're going to attack you. They're going to make stuff up about you, and they're going to run you out of town on a rail. So that's kind of sad.
It helps. I mean, it helps in your case that you're already an established author. You have a really dedicated following, but it certainly sends a message to that upstart, that up-and-comer, that you better watch out, because if you don't have that built-in audience, you'll be ruined before you get started.
Yeah, so about 10 years ago when I started all of this, where I started just being loud and I was being the nail that would stick up, it was because I could get away with it. My book sales were doing really good. I was one of the best-selling authors in Baghdad and Bagram, to give you an idea, during the war.
Wow.
That's my fan base. I really like to joke, my fan base has killed more people than cancer. I'm really popular amongst soldiers, cops, guys that work hard for a living. I go to my book signings and I come away with a pocket full of challenge coins from a bunch of different units. And so my fans are guys like that. They don't care. So when the publishing industry smears me and writes articles about me, my people don't read Entertainment Weekly. They don't care what IO9 has to say. They're just looking for a good time. And, they're used to getting lied about too. So I was pretty safe. I started rocking the boat. And they came after me. It was kind of fun. They kept pronouncing my career irreparably ruined. They kept saying how I'd ruined my reputation and no one would respect me anymore. I was going to be a failure. And it's so funny because I'm actually kind of a private person. I don't like to brag about my success, but I do simply because it makes these people so angry.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I do it.
It's awesome. We're building a new house right now. We bought a big chunk of property out in the country on a mountainside, and we're building a big, nice house. And I just built a giant shooting range for myself. And I keep putting up construction photos of all this as I go, just because I know it irks them so bad that they keep saying that I'm ruined, yet I keep selling books.
And that was obviously wishful thinking on their part.
Yeah, because the thing is, 10 years ago, people really were under the impression that they could ruin you. So if you went against accepted groupthink, they would ruin you. And part of the thing back then is there were these publishing gatekeepers. There was only a handful of ways to get published. And if you weren't published through a handful of these publishing houses, you were just stuck. Then along came the ebook revolution and Amazon, and it really opened up the market and opened up distribution channels. So all of a sudden, people could get their entertainment product out in front of different audiences without having to go through all these Manhattan gatekeepers. And it was really kind of the beginning of the end for these people, and they're getting louder and shriller because they've lost control of the publishing industry. Now pretty much anybody, regardless of what your politics are, you can get your book out there and you can get it in front of an audience. Now, I'm lucky in that I'm with a traditional publishing house, but my publisher doesn't care. She is awesome. She publishes everybody from me to Tom Kratman, who's probably the most right-wing Republican you'll ever meet, all the way to Eric Flint, who's a Trotskyite communist. So my publishing house just doesn't care. As long as you entertain readers and sell books, they're happy to have you. But everywhere else, if you had the wrong politics, they would ruin you. They would not advertise you. They would. You'd have one contract, and then you'd come out. You'd voted for George Bush, and the next thing you know, you wouldn't get any more contracts. There was a handful of guys that could get away with being outspoken just because they were so successful. Orson Scott Card's a good example. He's at probably one of the most left-wing publishing houses there is. I mean, half their employees are gender study majors from Vassar, but they publish him because he makes them a lot of money. But for most people, they'd have a book or two, they'd come out of the closet, they'd slip up and have a wrong political opinion, and their careers were shot. So it's been nice. It's been changing. It's been nice to have it change so dramatically over the last few years.
It sounds like most of this doesn't directly have anything to do with the books or stories themselves. It looks like they ferret out some private opinion that you may have, or indeed may not have. They just attribute it to you. But is there any way in which this cultural battle that's going on in your field does manifest itself in the books themselves, in the kind of themes, in whatever? I mean, maybe is it that some people are emphasizing more traditional heroism and others are doing SJW stuff? What's actually going on in the literature itself?
Oh, that's actually really interesting. One of the things with Sad Puppies is we were going through and we started pointing out that a lot of the stuff that was popular for awards was not popular with the people. Because the stuff that's popular for the awards, the stuff that got pushed as being big and important, was because it had the message. It had the preaching. We joked about, we called it the dying polar bears genre, because for a while there, everything was global warming. So we're like, the key to winning awards was you got to have dying polar bears. And so what happened, though, is it was also damaging our business because a lot of readers, a lot of longtime readers, were just drifting away. Because everything that was getting marketed to them, everything that was in their face was all politics all the time. Then you got guys like me who have reputations. They call us pulp writers because we care about entertainment. We care about action, adventure, fun. We want to get emotion. We want to get, catharsis. We want to get all that cool stuff in the book. And if we have a message, if there's a political message, it comes way down the line. So I put entertainment first, and if I sneak a message in there, you don't even know it. Whereas a lot of this stuff would just beat you over the head with message. Like you look at the marketing, and you can always tell, because if you look at the blurb of the book or the marketing that's put out by the publishing house to try to sell the book, if it accentuates like exploding spaceships or magic or dragons or excitement or fun or quest, adventure, it's probably going to be like what they consider a pulpy novel where we're just going for that. If right in the beginning it starts talking about somebody's cis heteronormative comes to conclusions in this bold new non-binary gender world, or the villain is a thinly veiled version of Dick Cheney, and it's just very preachy. That's kind of like the other side of the aisle. They put message over entertainment. And I tell you, what was killing us, too, is because we're not just competing against books. We're competing against television. We're competing against video games. We're competing against streaming services. It's just entertainment. And so these social justice people weren't just hosing themselves, because honestly, most of them, their sales are garbage. They were hosing the rest of us and the entire publishing industry because they're chasing off fans with their preachy, boring, literati, pretentious twaddle. So...
How have they been able to
answers that question?
Yeah, sure, but how have they been able to position themselves in a place where they can lecture people like you and look down their noses at people like you when you outsell them and outperform them? How did they get into this position where they can be the judges of the world?
Well, honestly, it's a question of history. So if you look at the history of the publishing industry, it is overwhelmingly been located in Manhattan. And over time, the people who have gravitated to working in it have overwhelmingly been the same basic demographic. It's been people who went to school with each other. Everybody they go to parties with has the same opinion. Everyone they work with has the same opinion. Everyone they associate with, everyone they went to school with, they all believe the same way. And over time, it just became more and more and more of an echo chamber. Like my publisher moved out of my parent publisher moved out of New York City and moved to North Carolina because it's cheaper. That's probably why they're still sane. But so you had the echo chamber effect, and then the other side on the fan side, you had Worldcon, which considered itself or advertised itself as this representative bastion of everything, but it tended to be overwhelmingly liberal too, and liberal thought, left-wing thought, could be expressed freely and applauded. But anybody who expressed something other than that got attacked because they weren't representative of the community or whatever it is. So it's just kind of an insidious thing where a lot of times libertarians and conservatives aren't super combative, or they used to not be as combative. So when they start getting pushed out of a place and the place was no longer fun, they wouldn't fight for it. They would just go, they take their money somewhere else. So that's kind of what we've seen. So on the fan side, it's just, they ruined the fun. So our people kind of just moved on to do other stuff, or they just didn't gravitate towards that industry anymore, because who wants to work with a bunch of, 25-year-old women that just got out of college who think they know everything in the world about books? So that's just kind of been the nature of it. It's been a gradual thing, but it's also been for a long time that this industry has been so left. Unfortunately, like a lot of entertainment.
Well, what about the possibility of having a conference or an organization or something, some kind of association of writers or whatever, that bills itself expressly as the non-thought control organization? You just come here, you write stories, and we're all happy about it. And we don't try to look through your garbage to see what you've been reading or whatever. We just leave you alone because that's none of our friggin' business.
Yeah. The thing is, there has been some stuff started up as far as organizations. I couldn't really tell you about any in particular, though, because I've not joined any of them. There are some cons, there are some events that are very much apolitical, that have done a really good job staying apolitical. And so there are some out there. So basically anything that's not explicitly left-wing, they will kind of take over time. But anything that's expressly apolitical and the people in charge fight to keep it apolitical, it's been good. I'll give you an example. After I got kicked out of Origins, the angry mob people behind it started trying to get me kicked out of another convention. So they were over on Twitter and they were, colluding and talking about how dangerous voices like me. And right before this, another writer, John Ringo, who's actually kind of a moderate Republican, I think. John Ringo got kicked out of Con Carolinas because of the same outrage mob. So somebody was over on Twitter talking about how dangerous voices of abusers such as me and John Ringo shouldn't be invited to DragonCon. Now, DragonCon is a 80,000 person event that takes over downtown Atlanta for 3 days. It is a huge party. If you've been to Mardi Gras and DragonCon, DragonCon's a bigger party. I'm not joking. So it's nerd Mardi Gras. So DragonCon sees this, and this person that's trying to get me and John Ringo kicked out is one of their track directors. In fact, it's the track director of their fantasy track, which is funny because me and John Ringo are so far the only winners of the Dragon Award for Best Fantasy. It's been around for 2 years. So she's trying to get us kicked out. DragonCon does not play that game. They are a business. They are professionals. They run it like a business, and they are expressly apolitical, so everyone is welcome. DragonCon fired her. They removed her as their track director and replaced her with somebody who wasn't going to do that kind of thing. They just put their foot down and said, nope, we're not going to go the direction of these other guys. We are not going to get woke and go broke. So there are some cons out there that are doing the right thing. Con Carolinas was the one that John Ringo had to drop out of because of all the threats and from the social justice warriors. They made a very bold statement at their closing ceremonies this year. They said, look, we will never, ever give in to a political outrage mob again. If you are offended by a guest we've already invited, we'll gladly refund your money. That's just how it is. But we're not going to bow to internet pressures. We're not going to throw people out without evidence of actual wrongdoing. And so right after they did that, the social justice warriors immediately launched a petition to get those people in charge of that convention removed. Well, here's the funny thing. David Weber, a famous author, started a counter petition. So the social justice petition got I want to say it was 130 signatures, and to remove the people that stood up for free speech. And then the author petition in favor of free speech, I think it got 3,500 in the deadline. So it was 30 something to 1 in favor of free speech over social justice, which is pretty indicative, I think, of how this discussion is nationally. These people are super loud and super offended, but they're really not that many, but people listen to them because they think they're many.
Larry, let's pause just a minute for a brief message to my folks to remind everybody that, like it or not, the way you dress leaves an impression on people. And one of the ways a good suit can be differentiated from a bad one is simply the fit. A bad one looks baggy, looks like you're heading into court on a B&E charge or something. You don't want that. That's not the image you want. Ideally, you want a made-to-measure suit, but you figure there's no way you can afford that. But now you can with Indochino. They make suits and shirts to your exact measurements for a great fit. You get a wide selection of high-quality fabrics. You can personalize all the details, including your lapel, lining, and monogram. So you just go to a showroom or go to Indochino.com. You pick your fabric, your customizations, you submit your measurements, and then you wait for your custom suit to arrive in just a few weeks. Well, this week, my listeners can get any premium Indochino suit for just $379 at Indochino.com when entering Woods at checkout. That's 50% off the regular price for a made-to-measure premium suit. Plus, shipping is free. The whole process is super easy. I found it very intuitive. You're going to love it. So it's Indochino.com, promo code Woods for any premium suit for just $379 and free shipping. That is an incredible deal for a suit that'll fit you better than anything off the rack ever could. Now, Larry, I don't want to second-guess your judgment. You know your industry better than I do, but I'll just tell you that when I find myself the subject of an attack, I turn it to my favor in one way or another. I used to just ignore it, think, these people, just let them stew, I don't care. But you know what? It's too good of an opportunity to pass up. If somebody disinvited me from an event of that scale, I would get that camera turned on, I would look into that camera and make a YouTube video that overnight would have 50,000 views and that would build up my tribe. It's an opportunity not to be missed. When they do that to you, they're handing you an opportunity on a silver platter that you ought to grab. Don't you think?
Oh, totally. Honestly, what I've seen with these people is every time they try to attack my career, it's like throwing water on a duck. It's throwing fertilizer on a weed. It doesn't. Every time I lose a person because they've heard about what a horrible racist hate monger I am, I gain 2 readers who know that these people are full of crap, and they'll check my books out and see that they're actually pretty entertaining. And one of the things a lot of people, they think that, we're losing the culture war or something of that nature. They think the social justice people are winning and ruining free speech. I actually disagree. I think what's happening is these people have become increasingly shrill and angry. And because their latest attacks have just been asinine. They've been asinine to anybody who's got even an iota of critical thinking skill. They're really, at this point, these people are only convincing people who are already true believers, who already smear you no matter what. I think what we're seeing, though, is they're losing their power. They're not as powerful as they once were. People are now aware of their games, and this is the thing that I like. They're getting mocked. They're getting made fun of. They're getting laughed at. And if you know bullies, the one thing a bully cannot stand is getting laughed at. So now these people attack me, and they'll get some little cowardly type like the guy that runs Origins to immediately cave and be a big wuss. But what happens is he's the one that looks like the goon. He's the guy that looks like the loser. And I come out of this, and I'll probably sell, another 10 or 20,000 books to new people who are like, wow, that sounds like BS. I'm going to go look this guy up on Amazon. And it used to be like we mentioned earlier, the small guys, the guys who are just starting out. They'd be really worried about their careers getting ruined. And that used to be the case. But now it's like if a bunch of social justice warriors form up an outrage mob to attack you or attack your company, and you don't back down, if you stand your ground and you just are honest, you will more than make up for the loss of business that those social justice warriors are going to cause. And I think as more people catch on, the better off we'll be. The problem we have is that a lot of people who drink the Kool-Aid, when the social justice warriors come after them, they immediately capitulate. They apologize for stuff they haven't done wrong. They beg forgiveness. It's kind of like the Soviet Union, everybody signing their confessions before they get executed by the commissars, of all their crimes against the state. It's like Jack Dorsey from Twitter. He got photographed eating Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And so the next thing you know, and the guy's apologizing. Here's the thing, dude, you're a billionaire. You are worth more money than some countries. You don't have to apologize to these people because you ate a chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
I mean,
totally absurd.
Yeah,
totally absurd. Especially when the reasons people don't like Chick-fil-A, almost none of them hold anymore. They're still, but they just won't. They won't let go of a grudge. Your point about laughter as the way to go after these people is so right. And I know I'm going to irritate a few people by saying this, but it's a fact that the other day, when at the Tony Awards, Robert De Niro said F Trump, and that was really courageous because he said that to a room. Every single person in there agreed with him already. So, wow,
so brave.
Yeah, right. It's just, I'm so bowled over by this. But then Michelle Malkin came out with a response, a video response that's all over Facebook. It's been viewed millions of times. So, maybe what do I know? But I thought that was so ineffective. I mean, yeah, people watched it because it was a response to him. It was so ineffective because she looks in the camera and she comes off like this humorless scold. Like, thank you so much for showing that Hollywood is so intolerant, just as we – and I thought, that's not how you respond. You laugh at the guy because laughter is going to sting if you just lecture him that, you just proved that you people aren't conservative. Like that's a terrible response. You should laugh at the guy. You should say, what's your next? Is your next speech going to be against cancer? You're going to come out boldly against cancer next time, or maybe the next day you'll be in favor of sunny days or whatever. Whatever. Just something to laugh at him, but you don't just hector him. Then you're blowing the whole opportunity, and plus you make yourself look like the caricature of conservatives, that they're humorless and they're fuddy-duddies. Don't live down to that expectation.
Well, one of the things that my people had so much fun, and I think one of the things that drives the social justice warriors nuts, specific about me and my fan base, is that we're gleeful. You can honestly tell as this stuff is going on that we're just having a good time. Like when I did Sad Puppies, my spokesman was a cartoon manatee. It was Wendell the manatee. Was literally our spokesman for like equality in literature. Okay, and so. All this recently, and the thing is, these people kind of always project too. So the stuff that they're saying about you is kind of what they're what they're feeling. You ever notice that when these people, like, you could be having a good time and laughing and joking and making fun of what happened and just having fun, and their response will always be, "Wow, you sound angry. You're so upset. This must have hit a nerve." And it's like, no, actually, I'm doing fine. But so I think the key is have fun. And the people in the middle, the great undecided, when I do these things, when I argue with these people, when I get in these fights, I'm not doing it for myself and I'm not doing it for them because I don't ever expect to sway any of these true believers. I do it for my fans so I can give them ammunition, and I do it for the undecided. I put this all out there. That way the people in the middle can look and then decide for themselves. And so that's why we have fun. That's why we write entertaining books. That's why we're all about, the joy. Like we said, we used to make these little ribbons that says "wrong fan having wrong fun." Because the thing about social justice warriors is the idea that somewhere out there someone is having fun in an unapproved manner just infuriates them. So the best thing you can do is just have fun. Have fun with it. Like I got kicked out of this con. I stayed home. So I went and did the things I would have normally done anyway. I had fun. We actually ate at Chick-fil-A and then went to the game store and played games because my kids were supposed to come with me. So we just went and did other stuff. We had a good time. So, I figure let them cry, let them freak out. And the more they do it, the more people can see they're liars. Biggest difference, honestly, in what I've seen in the difference between people who believe in free speech and people who don't. The people who don't believe in free speech will do everything in their power to silence you. And the people who do believe in free speech want the other side to keep talking so that everyone can see how full of crap they are. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep enjoying myself.
Larry, how do people follow you online and see you enjoying yourself?
Let's see. If they're on Facebook, we have the Monster Hunter International Facebook group. It's called Monster Hunter International Hunters Unite. Monster Hunter International is my first book. They can find all my stuff on Amazon. I have a blog. It's monsterhunternation.com, where I don't blog as often as I used to, but it's either politics or book stuff, or nerdy hobby gamer stuff, or guns. So they can follow me on monsterhunternation.com or find me on Facebook on the Monster Hunter Facebook page. That's the best way to get hold of me. All my books are available at Barnes & Noble, bookstores everywhere, and on Amazon.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll link to all this stuff at tomwoods.com/1181. And Larry, as always, thanks for your time, and great to hear about how you're doing.
Cool. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
All right, folks, don't forget to join me in New Orleans June 30th for the Mises Caucus Take Human Action Bash. These are the good folks who are doing good and important work in the Libertarian Party, and we want to support them at this event. So whatever you need to do to get there, do that thing and get there. Find out more at takehumanaction.com. Also, I was just reading the news the other day. Bernie Sanders is refusing to endorse his own son, who's running for House of Representatives. Not because they disagree, because he obviously has the same boring, predictable opinions as his father, the son does, but he claims he doesn't believe in political dynasties and whatever else. But no matter how you slice it, that's pretty cold. So anyway, Bernie's still in the news. There's still some speculation that he may run again for 2020. So get a jump on this one. I've got an ebook called Bernie Sanders is Wrong. And it's not like one of these typical free ebooks you get online where it's 15 pages and triple spaced and 48-point font. This is a real live book over 150 pages long, packed with answers to Bernie's arguments. And you may think, but who needs answers to these arguments? Well, you do, because half your friends are supporting him and they have no idea what they're talking about. So you can get this free ebook over at BernieIsWrong.com, or if you're in the United States, you can text the name Bernie to the number 33444, and you'll also get it that way. Thanks for listening.
Become a smarter libertarian in just 30 minutes a day. Visit TomWoods.com to subscribe to the show for free, and we'll see you next time.